that there is a good pay.
Managing.
There is good pay. Yeah, anyone who feels like this is the path they want to take, you will get the moolah.
Believing that God will bring, God will not
bring our money in the house.
Yes, go to social places. Go to take yourself somewhere, have a drink.
Go to church.
Okay, I don't believe in getting a husband from church. That one I said no. Okay, I don't play around. When I want to rest, I go out there, rest, take some fresh air. During lunch hours, I will take a break, go have my break over there.
Okay.
Yeah. And then just come back to the office. Yeah. Someone nice to be around. Don't fear shooting your shot. Yes, shoot your shot. If you think you're worthwhile, you can manage me.
So anyone can shoot their shot.
Shoot your shot.
Okay.
And let's.
Welcome to today's show. Meet Penina. Penina works as a clinical research associate, commonly known as a monitor. She's also a mother, and she's someone who's passionate, very passionate about what she does as a career. I quickly established this. Monitors are individuals who act as go-between sponsors and institutions that fund clinical research trials, and the clinics that conduct the research. She lets me know that she started off as a nutritionist, but the real journey began when she realized her potential to thrive in the research world. This is especially so after unforeseen retrenchment at the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. On the very verge of depression and finally resolving to pick herself up, the quest then began. On this day, she welcomes me into her space, her cozy home. It is so lush and bougie, if there's such a word. Her taste and style come as a package. I see it in the decorative pieces on the wall in her home. I see this in her jewelry. I see this in her choice of handbags and personal accessories. I see it everywhere. I'm also aware that she's a very fashionable lady. I get this from her social media pages, and she also loves photography. So how does she bounce back as an established CRA after retrenchment? Let's find out her story.
I've always told myself that with the vast knowledge that I have, so I was like, I'll make it. Because even during that time, as I was working, I was also doing business. I would go to every Friday after work. I would go to Kampala with an overnight bus, get bags, get clothes, take the Saturday night bus, get back to my home on Sunday morning. During the day, my customers are trickling in. I never had a shop. I used to do it from home, and I would do deliveries. So that is what I used to do. Monday morning, I dress up like I'm going to work early in the morning, rush to Kibuye, buy clothes, fast.
Thrifted clothes?
Yes, thrifted. Okay. Grade 1 dresses and jeans, and then go to work. So I would leave them at work. And then later on, I'll tell my customers I have this. So after work, I would go do deliveries.
Okay.
Yeah. So I knew that even though this was happening, I would still get back to business. Yeah. So though it took me by surprise, nobody's ever happy when they lose their job. But I remember that day, it was really a sad day for me, but I knew I was going to make it. How? I didn't know. But what I did is that I went into LinkedIn immediately. I had set up an account in LinkedIn, I remember. And so I decided that instead of just sitting and crying, because I'd cried for almost 2 hours, then I was like, now what do we do? What next?
After being retrenched?
Yes, that
Okay.
day. I remember it was a Thursday. So after being retrenched that day, I came home with my letter because I couldn't sit at work. It was, of course, normally you were given 1 month notice, yeah? So I came back that day and I went into LinkedIn immediately.
So at this point, you were just doing this all by yourself?
Yeah.
Some form of guidance from people you think would have been of help to you at that time?
No, it was during COVID. Everyone was struggling in one or the other.
Okay.
And my only fear at that time was that the market was flooded with people who were jobless. So I was going to join a team of, job seeking, people seeking for jobs. And so everyone is grabbing what they can get, So that was my worry, like, how do I maneuver within this setup? Yeah. And so at the same time, I just didn't stop there. I reached out to my employer.
Allow me to interrupt you a bit.
Yeah.
In between this point where you were retrenched and this point that you're now job searching, how was your financial stability, and did you have to go to a point where you have to really struggle to put food on the table, for example?
Now, what happened?
Yes.
At that time, it's funny because I took all my savings and put them in my circle so that my shares could increase, because I had not anticipated this would happen.
Yeah.
We had studies that were upcoming, but the sponsors pulled out last minute. So I literally did not have money. So at least because I always say one thing I told myself, because I'd cried for 2 hours. And I was like, Penina, I hope your viewers also listen to Swahili. But okay. Even if I
we'll
cry,
do translations, necessary.
Yeah. So I was like, I would cry the whole day, but if I don't figure out what to do, then it's not gonna help. So I had to really think fast.
Sure.
So at least I knew I had applied for a job in LinkedIn, because in LinkedIn already my CV was there, so I only needed to send. Okay. So on that very day, someone calls me. And she tells me, Penina, I'm looking for a taxi driver. Yeah, I want someone to take me to Migori. And I was like, yeah, I know someone. And he's like, is the person available? Yes. Yeah, just tell me when. I was like, let me reach out to that person. But that person was me.
You.
Yes.
I saw that.
I was like, I have a vehicle. Penina, I will not have a vehicle and sit with it here. I need to make ends meet. I will do whatever it needs to be done, taxi, Uber. Okay. So I was not gonna stop. Yeah, for me, I was like, me, Penina, I will not lose. We are moving forward. We are headed to the top. Whatever it means we need to get, for as long as it is not a criminal offense, it's something that will not get me into trouble, then I think I'm good to go. So I called, I found out the rates to Migori. I got the rates, and then I called this lady, and I told her, by the way, that taxi driver is me. And she was like, Penina, no, you play too much now. What is this again? I'm like, yes.
So, just to take you back a little bit, do you feel convinced that it is possible to transition in such a manner without necessarily having what is commonly known as godfathers?
Yes.
Like in your case?
Yeah, I have spoken to a lot of people about this, because probably most of the time what the information I get is that, Penina, please talk to someone for me in there, whatever. I never go for all the, because I've worked for how many CROs? 3. And for on all these occasions, I got these jobs via LinkedIn. You will realize that there's a place where you state whether LinkedIn helped you get this job.
Okay.
I've always clicked that. You'll see LinkedIn helped me get this job. I think because of the fear of the unknown.
Okay.
I got to work for 3 companies. Actually, it's 4 companies. I worked for 3 companies at a go because of the fear of losing my job.
Okay.
I was like, God, I cannot get myself in that place again. I got to work for a small company that I was just starting. I audited for them. They got awarded a project, and I monitored for them as a consultant, and I had to work as a quality assurance lead, and as actually quality manager at the organization, and also as a CRA. At one point, I had to work as a project manager for a small pharmacovigilance project. So I was doing so much, and I had to drop one job and focus on these 2.
Okay.
So anyway, what I would say for all these jobs I've had to work, I got through LinkedIn. I never knew anyone, and I don't believe you need anyone for you to get an opportunity. For me, I've always said I only need a place at the table. I only need to get to the interview table. Then I speak for myself. Yeah. Yes, give me a place at the table. Let me come and tell you what I can do. Because I have the experience. Yeah. I just need to convince you that I am an asset to your company.
So aside from experience, as you mentioned, anything else that, let's start with the basic. What is the basic requirement that someone would have to have so that they consider applying for such kind of jobs?
So one of the things you need, the number one important thing is your number of years, your experience, and your number of years in a clinical research setup.
Does it matter in which position?
It doesn't matter in which. Okay, I would say for as long as, if you, let's say, like in a clinical research, we have doctors, we have nurses, we have quality research, quality officers. We have there are a lot of people. Even we have community staff.
Yes.
For as long as you understand what is entailed. I have worked with people who do not have background in medicine or any clinical background. They have all the thing is they have you probably have experience in regulatory or quality assurance, or you are a nurse, or you are what. It is, your CV should be tailored in a way that it will favor you. Okay. Yeah. Because I believe once you are let's say a community person, you understand research, you understand recruitment, because all this starts from recruitment, getting the right eligible participants, the regulatory affairs aspects, how to submit, the required, the essential documents that are required for this, to carry out this study, to ethics committees, for review to the regulatory authorities. That will help you. You see, and that is why I always tell people, as much as you are working in a certain department, can you just take a walk to the regulatory and quality assurance department, get to know what they are doing? Because when you understand what they are doing, then it will be so easy for you to get into the field of monitoring, clinical monitoring. Yeah. I know someone who started by being a community interviewer. They went to school, did community, I think they did public health or community health, something of that sort. And then they got into regulatory. Now they're big CRAs in big organizations. Okay, and I've also seen, normally they would employ people with degree. So degree holders. Yeah. So that is also.
So basically there's a bachelor's in whichever.
In social sciences.
Social sciences.
Yes. Okay. Social sciences. Yeah. That would work for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So so basically just that, and knowing exactly your GCP, the good clinical practices, a good clinical practice. Yeah. Okay. So you need to master your GCP. You need to know what happens in a clinical research setup. Okay. And even as you're going for that monitoring interview, get into LinkedIn, get into what is it called? Even TikTok. and YouTube, look at some of the discussions on what to expect in a monitoring visit, what you're supposed to do.
TikTok.
Even TikTok, yes.
TikTok.
TikTok, yes.
You know, most people associate TikTok with, even myself included. Let me not say most people.
I never knew TikTok had educative stuff until I checked. Go and look for, there are people that I know that are in, go look for TikTok, look for something clinical research, you will
Is
get
that
content.
so?
Yes.
Now, for those people who keep complaining, oh, TikTok has, you know, what is the word? I need to look for
Bad
a modest
influence.
word. Yeah.
TikTok
See,
is bad.
now TikTok has informative things that someone
Yes.
can get to see.
But it all depends on what you're looking for, the people you are following. Yeah. If you follow only people with udaku,
that is true.
Yes.
Then the algorithm keeps bringing you
yes,
that kind of
people who will just bring
content.
you content that is not going to help us much. You like fashion, it will bring you stuff on
that
fashion.
Is for sure.
Yes.
Yes.
You even on Instagram. I know there are people who are on Instagram and are doing so well in clinical research. Yeah. And they give content. All these places, the only place I've not gotten much info on clinical research is Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah. But Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, all those platforms, you can actually get educative stuff on clinical research. So those are some of the things you need to do. Get in touch with monitors. For me, for example, someone like me, I got to, normally when monitors would come at the site, yes, I would interact well with them, because being a clinical quality assurance manager, I'm the one who would prepare the site for the visits, monitoring visits, and when they came to the site, I would interact a lot with them. So I actually met a mentor during my time. Okay. And he's the one, and I remember one of the jobs that I worked for is the one that recommended me. Okay. And anytime I would go for an interview, I would call him, like, how do I do this? How do I talk? How do I say this? If I'm asked this, how do I? So you also need to create good rapport with monitors, so that at the time when there are opportunities in the organizations, they can recommend you. So that means someone who is in the regulatory or the QC department already has an edge over anyone else in the in those several cadres that we've talked about. Regulatory, even clinicians. At what point will the clinician really or a nurse interact so much with the monitor in a very normal setup? I'm trying to think about it. I would say there are some times when, normally you'd not interact much with the monitors as a nurse or as a clinician, unless you are called upon to make clarifications on a certain issue, let's say, and during debriefs, because you'd have debriefs with them, opening debriefs. Yeah. They tell you what is expected of the visit, and then closing debriefs. So that means that will take individual effort for someone if they're really interested into getting that line. Yes, if you're really interested, sometimes reach out to those monitors, talk to them, let them know that you are interested. Sure. So these things, let me tell you one thing, Cynthia, in this life, you've got to go a notch higher. You've got to go ahead of people. Sometimes people will think that you're overdoing it, but it's not overdoing. You want to kujituma. Yeah, ni kujituma. Yes, that is the word. And that is what I always tell people. Anytime because I remember some of these jobs or some of the interviews that I have actually attended. I never waited because normally if you go to LinkedIn, you'd see that job opening is there and the recruiter is there. I would make my application and then reach out to this recruiter, send my CV again, and tell them why I am a qualified candidate to be shortlisted for an interview. I am not lobbying, but there are so many people. Sometimes you'd see an advert, there are already 150 people that have applied for that job. By the time you want to apply. And I always tell people, don't even be shaken with those 150 people. Now, because there are 150, your CV has to stand out. Your CV has got to be seen. So you need to make sure that your CV is looking good and it is tailored to that job that vacancy.
Yes.
And at the same time, if you can reach out to the recruiter, reach out to them and explain to them why you are a qualified candidate for to why they need to hear you out, to give you time to let them know what you can offer them.
Sure.
Okay. So sometimes you even make it easy for the recruiter. Just like, oh, nice, okay, all right, I'll review your CV, and before you know it, you're already being called for an interview. Okay. So I always don't look at it like I'm lobbying. You're not lobbying. You need that. There are 50 people over there. You're just pushing your way in.
Yeah, you're trying to be more aggressive than the society actually. Traditionally people apply for jobs and sit waiting for.
Yes, and sometimes.
Results.
If it is not, and I always tell people, even when after you have interviewed and there's no feedback, you are allowed to go back and request to know what was the final decision.
Okay. So
that, because there's also this anxiety that sits with you as you wait for a response. Yeah. So this thing it's just all about going ahead, because I always say that normally there's some organizations that don't remember to reach out to interviewees to tell them the final verdict, whether they were taken or not. And it is important for closure. But even when you reach out like that, one day this recruiter will remember you and they will say, you know what, there's an opportunity, please go ahead and apply. Okay. So the job market is competitive. Everyone wants sometimes it's one position with everyone wants that one position, so you should try and make sure that you stand out. Your LinkedIn should be well well set up, such that you someone can see there's a profile picture over there, so the recruiter or the hiring manager already knows who this person looks like, where they work, what they have done over time. Okay, so in a nutshell, they are able to see whether you also you have a chance, whether there's need to actually shortlist you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So where does it all end? Because I know probably someone is looking at it like, if I get that kind of a job or a position, then that will be it. So like for someone like you who is already doing this kind of work, so what's next?
So it comes in levels. So for me, I always say I see myself being one day I look up to being a director of clinical operations. That's where I am headed. Okay. Yeah, that's where I'm headed. So
big dreams.
Yeah, God, I am a dreamer, big one. But I thank God, because I'm one person that strongly believes that nothing is impossible. I look at the word impossible like to mean impossible. Yeah, if you see the way it's spelled, so for me it's impossible. So
the you just put a little apostrophe there, and it's I am possible.
Exactly. So it's taken me only 2 years to get to a senior position in clinical research.
That is a huge achievement.
So right now I'm a senior clinical research associate 2. Yeah. So when I only need to get to 3, and then I become a project manager. Okay. So my next step from this is becoming a project manager. Once I get to a project manager, I will now get into a senior project manager position. And then, God willing, depending on how far I go, I can now, if I am able to deliver to the standards, then who knows, I will be a director of clinical operations.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen. What else can I say? Okay, so much about the employment journey. I think you've covered most of what I had in mind. You're sort of a good narrator yourself. You just move flow. There is good flow from, so I don't have to ask a lot of questions in between, but I feel like most of the questions that I were to ask have been well answered. Yeah. So what else can I talk about now? You are motherhood. Can you talk about motherhood?
Yes.
Especially your daughter.
Yeah. So I have a daughter.
And it's like there's a deep connection between the two of you, because when you lost your job, she's all you had in your mind. So what can you say about it?
Yeah, my daughter, what can I say? My daughter, I thank God for a girl who is understanding. I have a very understanding daughter. She's never pushed me like, mommy, you need to give me this, you need to give. She would just tell me, mommy, when you get money, you will get me this.
How
Please,
old
can
is
you? She's 11 years.
11?
Yes, 11 years. She's never given me trouble that I can say, though we've had problems with feeding initially. Right now she's so healthy. That is the one challenge that we've had. The other thing is, you know, when they get to right now she's a preteen, so there are instances they are taught about sex education in school and all that. So we've had those candid talks and just letting her know what to expect. And the sex education, the Orange Club in school, they have an Orange Club in their school where they are taught about sex education. So that has really helped. And being able, and they're taught about, you know, as a girl, you should actually call breasts, not private parts, you know. Vagina is a vagina. Your buttocks are your buttocks. They're not private parts. You call them as they are. Yeah. So those, it has really helped, and you know, even being taught about menstruation and all that. So it makes it easy for we parents to start that conversation. And so we've had that conversation, even having boyfriends and stuff like that. Yeah. So I always tell her your mom should be your friend. So we talk a lot about that, even asking her, do you have a boyfriend, stuff like that. So sometimes what I've realized, parents, we tend to beat the word boyfriend. I was raised in a setup where mentioning boyfriend was a taboo. It was a taboo. You were not to interact with boys whatsoever.
Sure.
And that is not how it's supposed to be, because then with time I always feel like with time you make wrong choices. So if I realize that we need to allow our children to interact and tell them the truth and tell them what to expect. If you go beyond just what is expected, their pregnancies, their what and what not. So we need to have this talk with our children, and because you will do your part in as a mother, you know, at home, limit watching time, limit gadgets and what they view in gadgets. Because like my phone, since I travel a lot, I get to leave a smartphone here so that we can actually video call when I'm away. Yeah. So I ensure that my YouTube has the YouTube in that phone has my account. So I am able to check from my other phone, this personal phone, what was actually watched.
You've mentioned traveling as one of the things that you do often based on the kind of job that you do. So how do you balance that out with being available or just caring for your daughter?
Okay, so number one, I got a mature nanny. So I have a motherly lady who helps out while I'm away. I sat down with my daughter and told her the nature of work that I have to that I do, and why I have to be away most of the time. So sometimes I would when I go out and come back, I would try and make up for that time, take her out, just have a sit down and discuss. We cannot always go out or every other time, but just explaining to her that there are days I'm not going to be around. And then we talk often. So every single day when I'm away, in the evening when I get back to my hotel room, we would talk. We would just have a video call, check out and find out whether she did her homework, how school was, how was your day, what did you do, did you have any issues that you think we can discuss, and what not. And then the thing is, I never get to sign her diary as often because I'm never around, but I keep calling her teacher, and we have a WhatsApp group where we get updates from school. So I interact a lot with her teacher just to get to know her progress, and I have never missed any school event, ever. So even if I have to schedule my visits after school events, I'll do that, but I make sure that I thank God for the job I have, that you can plan your visits at least in a way that you am able to be available during my child's school activities. Yeah.
So you in that regard, what would you tell someone who feels like there's a lot of traveling involved in being, once you become a CRO, for example? Is it a setback? Would you mention it as a sort of a disadvantage or a challenge, or to you it is not as such?
For me right now it is not,
It is
because we are grown, and it also becomes a challenge when you're just one parent like I am. Because if you are two parents, then one person will always be around to take over. But now it becomes a challenge when the children I am.
If that there is a good pay.
Managing.
There is good pay. Yeah, anyone who feels like this is the path they want to take, you will get the mullah. So now when the mullah comes and you're a lady, then a man comes into play and probably they are not in a similar financial status. Do you feel like this is something that can bring a conflict in a relationship?
Yes, yes and no, depending on how you want to look at it. Now, for me, I always believe that if you are in different, most of the time when the woman is higher than the man
in terms of
pay or in terms of, because the pay can be different, but in terms of education, then the man starts to feel intimidated. And they start to feel like, and so there's a lot of emotional blackmail that you are doing this because you think you're better than me, you are well educated, and so there's a lot of that. So me, I have no problem with someone who is at least in the same level, for as long as you have an education and you're getting money out of it, you have something out of it, then that's okay. It's just that when I'm talking of I don't settle for less, I don't want to lie to myself that I can settle with a form 4 dropout, stuff like those. Yeah, but on the other hand, it all depends. Maybe it's a form 4 dropout who has a business that's bringing an earning. Generally, what I'm trying to say, I will not settle for someone who does not have something, an income. Yeah, because I'm not starting from scratch again. Okay? We are not playing Bob the Builder. Bob the Builder. Yes, he is. So we don't want to be Bob the Builders. And I don't want to be in a situation where we have to compete. Okay? Yes, so basically it is just about that. And sometimes people feel like, hey, you dress too good. I remember where I used to work initially, they'll tell me, you dress too good. When people look at you, you look so moneyed. Men will be afraid to approach you. You know what? It is not your problem as a woman. It is a problem with this man, because they're looking down upon themselves. That is why they cannot approach. Okay? I always say that men will say that women tend to look for men with money. Even men want women with money. As you sit there thinking that now you need to settle for less because now you will not get a husband, there are men who are seeing you and they admire you. Yeah, you just need to set yourself in the right place. Don't sit in the house believing that God will not
bring a man in the house.
Yes, go to social places. Take yourself somewhere, have a drink.
Go to church.
Okay, I don't believe in getting a husband from church. That one I said no.
Why not?
No, I'm sorry. I was brought up in church. I am spiritual, but I don't want a husband from church.
That's hilarious.
Yes, I just want someone who is real, because I'm real.
Yeah, you are. For all the things I know about you, you are a real person. You are.
When you see me praying, when I am having my interactions with my God, you will not believe it is this other person. Na si ati ni mambo ya dunia, sijui ni Mungu yangu iko huku na huku. I am being real with life.
Okay.
Yes. So I don't want someone who will tell me usivae longi, usifanye hii, usifanye. If I come here and sit with my whiskey over here, who have I interfered with? I am just coming into my environment and sitting with my whiskey to feel good. People will judge you differently. Yeah. And probably someone will watch this and say that I'm justifying wrong. But right now, people are dealing with so much depression everywhere. Find what you love, for as long as there's morality in it. Yeah, and you're not interfering with anyone in any way. Just do what you find peace in.
Is that why you look like a fashionista? If I can, use that.
I love good things.
What can you say about that?
I love
that side of you.
Things. I love life. I what I can say, I'm an interesting person to be around, and I love life so much. I love good things. That is why when I remember how I love good things, I wake up in the morning to work. I even extend past the 8 hours my employer expects me to, because I always feel like, gosh, I need this job. Because I love good things, I need to.
So it gives you the push every day.
Yes, and basically the Penina that I am, right back from the day, I remember there was a time when I was young, when my mom was still alive. I used to love nice stuff. I started dressing right from Kitambo. It's not just, I'm not starting now. I have been dressing good right from the time I was a child. And house helps used to buy clothes from me. So my mom really beat me up because he realized that I was selling stuff, clothes to house helps. Yeah. So I love looking good.
Okay.
Yes, I love clothes, I love shoes, I love good stuff, basically. Yes. And I am someone nice to be around. Don't fear shooting your shot. Yes, shoot your shot. If you think you're worthwhile, you can manage me. Shoot your shot. Okay. And let's see. I'm still single. Yes, yeah. For as long as you're not married, you're still single.
Yeah.
And I tell people, you know what? You don't expect to have one. I'm not asking people to have many men and sleep with them. No. But as a single woman, you are allowed to go on many dates and choose. Yeah, you're allowed to go on many dates. Go on this date. Go on that date. Then decide who you want to now date. Yeah, you are allowed to even go a second round of dates. Yeah, but the problem with women is that you meet a man today, and when they profess love, you're already seeing yourself as a wife.
Okay.
So you start doing wifely duties. I don't do wifely duties. I don't do. I am a slay queen. Until further notice, I don't do wifely duties. The only time I do I honestly did those kind of stuff where at the time I was young before I got married. Yeah, you would go to a man's house and wash and wash and wash and wash. Even yet in your home when you're told to wash, it is an issue. You wash and wash. At the end of the day, he ends up with somebody else and you're dumped. Stuff like this. So I told myself, I don't do wifely duties until you put a ring on it. There are things I can do. There are things I can do and welcome you into my space. And the other thing that you asked about is how I introduce my child to my relationships. Yeah, there are there are relationships that are worth introducing your child to. And yeah, there are some that you will introduce your child and some that you won't. And you won't even bring next to your house because you know we are not headed anywhere, but we are just having the moment. Yeah? So those are not worth introducing. When I decide to introduce my child, this is because I see a future ahead with this person. Okay? And I have made my daughter know that one day when you're old enough to start having children, do not stick in a relationship that you're not loved. Where you're not happy and respected, never stick in. Nobody should make you stick in a relationship where you are not appreciated, where you don't feel respected, and where you don't feel loved and cared for. Yeah, you realize that when they were raised in a violent home, and so they get to attract men who are like that because they believe my mom stayed, so therefore I should go ahead and stay. Nikuvumilia. You know, you're supposed to persevere. That is what marriage is about. Persevere. Not in my books. In my books, we try. We are not looking for perfection. I am not looking for perfection. A perfectionist. No one is perfect. Yeah. I am looking for someone that will love me unconditionally. And I always say we come with my daughter as a package. So someone that is going to love me unconditionally, someone that will respect me, someone that is willing to do life with me. Yeah, so that's what I would say about my journey towards where I am right now in terms of, you know, life happenings, progress in career and all that.